Good morning guys, welcome back to our SCL Maths and English lesson. So today we're going to be focusing on maths and more specifically measurements. My name's Rob and I'll be taking you through to the lesson today. We've got quite a lot of exciting things for you to do around different types of measurement, working out some different measurements within your own homes, and then at the end there's a really exciting challenge that you could probably do with your parents, hopefully later today or maybe over the weekend. So let's get started. So first off, measurements are just the action of measuring something, and there's lots of different things and ways that we can measure. So as you can see from the pictures, we can measure time, we can measure temperature, we can measure weight, and we can measure capacity or volume. And these are the areas that we're going to look at today, although there are lots of other areas that we can measure that we aren't going to cover today. So first off, we're going to look at time. So that's a measurement of how long it takes us to do something, and we can measure it in seconds, minutes and hours. So what we're going to do, a little challenge to start off with, I'm going to set you a task. So the three things we're looking at are reading a book, running 10 meters, or sleeping at night. Which one do you think might take us seconds? Which one do you think we could do in minutes? And which one do you think would be hours? So I'll give you a few seconds to do that, and then we'll review the answers together. So reading a book, unless it's a really long book, it would probably just take minutes to go through that. If we were running 10 meters, it would probably take us seconds. So the fastest man in the world, Usain Bolt, can run 100 meters in just under 10 seconds, which is really fast. So challenge for you there as well. And then sleeping at night is hours. So we recommend, or it's recommended, that children get between 10 and 11 hours of sleep every night. So you can really help your parents out by going to bed on time and making sure you have a nice long lay-in as well. So next thing we're going to look at is thinking about other things that we might spend a lot of time doing, just a short amount of time doing, or that we would do very quickly. So we'd measure them in hours, minutes or seconds. So can you again have a few seconds? If you need to pause the video, you can, just to think of a few things that might take you seconds, minutes or hours to do. So I'll do the same. I'm going to look at mine now, and hopefully you guys have all had a chance to do the same as well. So things I think I could do quickly are washing my hands. So everybody knows at the moment we wash our hands for 20 seconds. Maybe we sing happy birthday to make sure that we do it for the right amount of time, and we make sure that we keep them nice and clean at the moment. Making myself a drink, maybe a glass of water, would only take seconds as well. And if I were to do 5 star jumps, I could do that in between 5 and 10 seconds. Not as young as I used to be. In terms of minutes, I'd get 30 minutes at work to eat my lunch, so I could eat my lunch in a matter of minutes. In terms of running a bath, it would only take a few minutes to run a bath. And we have a pet hamster, and it takes minutes to clean her out as well. It can take up to half an hour or 30 minutes, but it would only take minutes, not hours. And then the long periods of time, we've already said about sleeping and making sure we get 10 to 11 hours of sleep. But I'd say that work and school we do for hours each day, and also you guys would probably be playing with your friends for hours for each day as well, which is a really nice thing to do. So a challenge for you now, ask your parents if they can start you a stopwatch on their watch or on their phone, and what I'd like you to try and do is in 10 minutes time go back and say to them you think 10 minutes is up. So you've got to guess how long you think 10 minutes is for, and then they'll keep the stopwatch running, and you're going to go back in an hour and tell them that you think an hour is up, and you've got to try and see how close you can get to 10 minutes and 1 hour on that stopwatch. So ask your parents now, again give you a few seconds to do that, and we're going to try and stop the watch at 10 minutes and then start it again and go for an hour. So our next measurement we're going to look at is temperature. So temperature measures objects and how hot or cold they are. We normally measure them in degrees Fahrenheit or degrees Celsius. We're going to focus mainly on degrees Celsius. So can you think of some things that get hot and also some things that get cold? So I'll do the same, give you a few minutes. Again, if you need to pause the video, you can, and we'll have a look at some of the answers together. So for me, the things around my house I thought that get hot are our oven. It gets hot in the summer, the temperature outside, and also if I'm driving my car, the engine gets hot. And the things I thought of that get cold were the freezer in our house and the fridge. It's cold in the winter, and also at night the temperature drops quite a lot. It gets quite cold at night as well. Some other things that we might be wanting to have a look at with regards to temperature is when it's 0 degrees Celsius, that's the point that water would freeze. If it's 100 degrees Celsius, that's the point that water would boil. And then just a few other bits. The temperature today is predicted to be about 24 degrees. And if anyone's lucky enough to be able to go swimming again when we're allowed back in the sports centres, a swimming pool will be around 27 to 29 degrees in temperature. So it's just a bit of an idea about the different temperatures of things that we have in and around us in everyday life. So again, another little challenge for you. You can see the red boxes contain some statements and the blue boxes are the answers. So what I'd like to do is again give you a few seconds to pause, and I'd like you to try and match up the correct blue answer to the red statement. So hopefully you've had enough time to do that, and we're going to have a look at the answers now. So water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius. I think I might have given you a clue for that one earlier. We use this as a unit of measurement, and the answer for that is degrees Celsius. Again, it's up the top there, so hopefully that's one that you were able to figure out as well. We can measure temperature using a thermometer. So again, first slide we had our picture of a thermometer. That is what we would use to find out how hot and cold things are. And the last one is a thermometer measures temperature. So if you got all of them right, fantastic. If you didn't, don't worry about it too much. We've got the answers now, and we all know a bit more about temperature. So the next thing we're going to look at is weight. So this is just a measurement of how heavy things are. So we measure it mainly in grams, and 1,000 grams equals 1 kilogram. So we're going to have a little game about how much you think things weigh. So for me, I'm giving you a little bit of an indication here. So an apple would weigh between 70 and 100 grams. A tablet, like a Samsung or an iPad, would weigh between 460 and 480 grams. And then a bag of sugar would weigh about 1 kilogram or 100 grams. So it gives you a little bit of a clue about how much things weigh. But our challenge in this section is going to be, can you find 5 things around the house and a set of scales, and see if you can guess before you put them on the scales how many grams you think they're going to weigh. So you can pick 5 items, you can pick toys, you can pick anything you like around the house, and we're going to weigh them and see how close we can get and how well we can predict the weight of an item. So again, if you need to pause the video now, pause that, go away, find yourself 5 bits and pieces to weigh and your scales, and then see how well you did with your guesses. So the final measurement we're going to look at is capacity or volume. So this is a measurement of how much something can hold. So as you can see from our little diagram there, we've got milk, and we can measure that out into millilitres, or 1,000 millilitres being 1 litre. Okay, so another little challenge, similar to our one with the weight. We're going to start by collecting 5 containers. So they could be a glass, it could be a bowl, it could be something that you use for mixing up in like cakes, or a mixing bowl. Anything you like, it could be a jug, and anything that you think is going to hold water. And what we'd like you to do is guess which one you think is going to hold the most. Okay, so it might be that you find some tall items, it might be that you find some wide items, and we're going to see which one holds the most. So this might be a test that you actually try out later. You could try it out if you're having a bath later on, and you can take a few bits up to see which one holds the most. You can try pouring the bigger ones into the smaller ones, or the wider ones into the taller ones, and see which one holds the most water. Again, what we're going to ask you to do is guess which one of the 5 that you choose holds the most water. And then maybe using the smallest one as 1 cup, how many of those smaller jugs or cups will go into one of your bigger containers that you found. Okay, so that's your second little challenge, and that may be one that you want to pause the video for now, or you might try later. As I say, if you're going to have a bath later on, or you might be able to play out in the nice warm weather this afternoon in the garden, and you're able to test this out then, fantastic opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about capacity and volume and litres and millilitres. So when do we use measurements? Can you think of anything that you do that you use measurements for? So again, you can pause the video, you can have a little think for yourselves, and try to work out what you might use for a measurement during your everyday life. Okay, so you may be at school and you may need to measure the distance of something, and you may be able to use a ruler, but we're going to think of some other bits and pieces. So you think of some, I'll think of some, and we'll have a look at what we found in a minute. So for me, I've done exercise, so I would measure the amount of exercise that I do in time. I would measure the temperature. I put a picture of sunscreen on there, so if it gets hot outside, I may need to put my sunscreen on because I know that the temperature's warmed up. I may measure out a drink, so I may have a drink of water and measure that out in terms of knowing how much I should drink each day. So if I was between 4 years old and 8 years old, I should get 1.3 litres of drink or fluid a day. Ideally water, that's the best one. And if I was a little bit older, up to being a teenager, I'd be looking at about 1.8 litres as well. But if you're doing lots and lots of running, or the temperature's hot and you're losing lots of water because you're sweating and getting really hot, you need to make sure that you keep your fluids topped up. Another one that I've looked at is time. So I spend a lot of time at work, and you may spend a lot of time doing lessons at school. And the final one was looking at with regards to weight was cooking. So we'd be measuring out some of the different items that I'd be using to cook my dinner or cook a cake or something like that. So I promised you an exciting challenge that you could do with your parents at the end, and here it is. It's your opportunity to use all the different measurements that we've already spoken about, and you've gone away and tested and worked out what the best types of ways to measure these are, and how much things weigh and how much water we can get in a container. And what we're going to do now is put that into the form of making some scones. So we've given you a recipe, we've given you the ingredients. What we need you to do now is go away, weigh out your ingredients, make sure you use your grams for the main ingredients there, and also mils for our milk. You also need to work on temperature, because you need to know how hot to make the oven to cook them in. But please do make sure that you get a parent to help you out of that, because we don't want you burning yourself, because they will get very hot. We're also going to look at time, because we need to know how long to put these scones in the oven for. So all the information is there for you in the recipe. Hopefully you've got the bits and pieces in the house so you can make them today. If not, when you next go out to go shopping, hopefully you'll be able to get those bits so you can make some. They'll be delicious. I'm very jealous that you guys are going to get to make these, and I hope you have great fun making them. Thank you very much for your time. That is the end of our lesson today. Hopefully we'll see you again at 2:30 for our PE lesson, and I look forward to seeing you again for the rest of our maths, English and PE that we do with SCL. Good luck with your scones, everyone. Bye.